All right, good morning, folks. This is John Decker, the Director of Community Services at Alta California Regional Center. Today is May 6th. It is 11:03 a.m. and we've got 47 folks on so far, so we'll get started here for Coffee with Community Services. Good morning. So for today, we have a number of things we're going to be going over. So first and foremost, we certainly know that the rate study implementation is on folks' mind. And so we want to give an opportunity for folks to talk about that a little bit, give an update on some of the budget hearings that are going on, give some updates on some DDS activities that are happening, an update on our CPP, CRDP, requests for proposals and interviews. We've got some vendor forum information and some additional information regarding some new positions at Alta and a collaboration that we're working on with Alta and Valley Mountain Regional Center. So a bunch of different stuff to talk about today. We've got a bunch of our regional center staff on. So we have our community services manager, Olivia. Both Jordan and Jean are not able to be on this morning. One of our specialists, we got Nicole here. We have our employment specialist, Carly, here. Good morning. And let's see, one of our client services managers for residential, Rowena. Good morning. And our SLS and deaf services unit, Carol Wilhelm. Good morning, Carol. And we've got Gary, who handles the employment and day program services for us, and Jason Scantleberry, good morning as well, and Kate. Let's see, we've got Scott on for community services, and my assistant Zach is on as well. And I think we've got some other folks that aren't on their cameras quite yet too. So again, wanted to kind of dive into our agenda here and talk about some things that are going on. I did hear that the presentation that was done by our emergency coordinator last week, Hewitt, was very well done. I will apologize. We did not hit record on that meeting. And so we are going to have to just have Hewitt do that whole presentation over again for vendors at some time in the future so that we can get it on video. So always nice to be able to bring in special guests to present to you all. And certainly, I think everyone is enjoying that we're getting a little cool weather right now, but we're certainly concerned about the upcoming fire season. And just sitting with Hewitt for, gosh, half an hour talking about his presentation in advance of him doing it, I just didn't realize how many resources are out there right now that we can try to gather. So we have hopefully a much better experience than we've had in the past when it comes to dealing with these devastating fires that lead to people being, relocated. So again, very, very happy to have him do that. Additionally, as an update, we did a presentation last month with DDS and some folks related to the Columbus agency's staffing program. And so I am told that contract is through and ready to be signed. And so it's going to be routed to me today. And so we'll be having further discussions with you all about participating in the Columbus staffing program pilot that we're going to be doing here out of Alta in the near future. So stay tuned for that. We'll certainly give you more information about that. I have a meeting with DDS a little bit later today about it as well. So rate study. Olivia, do you mind giving us kind of a little bit of an update on where we're at so far, what we know as far as rates we've received, and then I would love to open it up to our providers to kind of share kind of their experiences. So take it away, Olivia.
Sure. So I think last week we were able to report that 500 rates had been updated into our system that I think is from like 1984, so it takes a while. And that invoices that were run on Friday evening would show a rate increase if you were eligible for a rate increase. We're still waiting on DDS for a lot of rates. So as soon as we get those, we will be updating the system those rates. And as we've said all along, anything that we receive, whenever we receive it, we will be retroing back to April 1st. We also have an email address if you have questions or questioning the rate, or want to submit your rate review process forms that we've gone over that are on DDS's website. So I can drop the email in the chat box for that. I believe also there's a message on the e-billing system that says we're still working on the rates and that everything will be retroed back to April 1st. So just kind of wanted to open it up and see if anybody had any questions about the rate study. Did anybody see a rate increase? Yeah, okay. Nice.
We saw one raised hand, for those of you that are not on camera. And we got a nope in the chat from a provider as well. So we certainly know that there were a number of providers that were vendored at a rate above the benchmark rate for DDS. The question, and in those situations, those vendors would not be seeing a rate increase. And so if someone had an issue with that, we have that email box that Olivia mentioned. If there is, we feel, an error in the calculation or whatever else, we need to kind of get that arranged. And I believe that we saw um, uh, a 30-day time window, right, for making those appeals. Is that what it is? Or 60 days? I think it's 30 days. Right,
I think
Olivia?
it's 60. I think it's 60 days.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as soon as possible, make sure that you are reaching out. Please don't hesitate to speak to your specialist. Let's go to, let's see, the chat here. When do we expect to see the remainder of the rate increases? April 1st. I guess we're already a month and 6 days too late for that. So, Olivia, did we get it? I know our staff have been meeting with DDS separately as well. But do we have any indication, or do we know exactly when we think we're going to get the rest of the rates?
I do not. We're meeting weekly and they're just getting them out as quickly as possible.
Okay. I know that one of the things that was required was kind of a last minute look to determine whether or not programs were providing more medical support services or more behavioral support services. Let me go into some of the questions in the chat here. So we don't know yet, correct, what the rate increases or when we know we're going to have all of the rate increases. So that's one question kind of answered. We don't quite know yet. Let's see. Let's see. If we saw a rate increase in e-billing but did not receive a rate letter, can we expect to receive a rate letter? I see a yes out of Olivia
Yes.
on that one.
Yes.
So that would be, yeah.
The plan was, or what accounting was able to do was to get the invoices updated first, and that rate letters would probably go out later this month.
The sincere hope of our whole agency was that we were not going to have to do a ton of retro payments, but just a little bit of trivia. If we only did 500 rates, there's about 1,000 of you that bill us every month. So that means that, and again, of those 500, I don't know the frequency with which a number of those rates are being used too. Because again, there's some rates that we know have been updated, but are like rarely being used as well. So let's see. Any word on the 055s, one-to-ones were classified in that category, doesn't even exist in the new rate structure. So what have we seen about the 055s yet, Olivia?
So just so everyone knows, the ones we got back, it wasn't a full service code. We didn't receive like all the 055s back from DDS. We've gotten pieces of them back from DDS. And so that's what was updated. I don't have any other information about the 055s that may be one-to-ones. On the spreadsheets that we filled out for DDS, it said 1 to 2 or more intensive. And so those were the question, but I haven't seen those back from DDS about what the rate would look like.
Okay. Will we receive something to indicate that we won't get an increase? And this is specifically looking at the 055 one-to-one. So I guess we're still going to be waiting. I mean, once we receive from DDS confirmation they've sent us everything, then I think at that time we would know whether or not people are going to get something I don't think anyone's going to be sent something that says you're not getting a rate increase. It would just be that when we have those final rates, if your invoices don't change, then you're not going to be getting that rate increase. So that was the initial, prioritization, right? Was so that we would not have to do so many retro POSs, which is a lot of work on behalf of our staff. But As we talked about, this was 6 months of work that was crammed into about 6 weeks for our staff and for DDS, and it was a lot to take on. Does this mean that you still only have 500 rates in? Do we have a timetable that can be articulated? And again, we are working daily with DDS as it relates to this, but my understanding is this is certainly a statewide issue that other regional centers are dealing with as well at the same time. So um, I guess the nice thing is on a week by week basis, we can make sure that we keep you updated in this meeting on what the status is. Then will we know when all the rates are in? I am wanting to know my timeline to appeal if the 1-to-1 doesn't get an increase and the same program at a 1-to-2 did. That is a good point and a good question. And so for example, if they already got a rate increase for part of that rate, but not for the 1-to-1. So in a situation like that, and since we have a bunch of our specialists on here as well, let's reach out to your community services specialists and specialists. If you guys can keep track of some of these inquiries like this and make sure that you connect with Olivia and follow up with us so that we can make sure that we get answers back specifically to individual vendors that have concerns about this. But this also lets us know that we need to share this information generally as soon as we can to like the entire group, hopefully by like next Friday.
I think, John, we can also make a commitment that when we receive confirmation from DDS that we have received all of the rates, that we can let all of the providers know.
Okay. Okay, that is good. Yeah. So that I'm just gonna write that down as we will send a notice via MailChimp to providers. So that's for providers signed up on our website, letting them know that all the rates have been received by DDS. All rates. I've said it before, and we know that this is going to be the case. This is a priority for us to do this correctly. If there are, I understand even this week, Olivia has been working with our accounting team to ensure that your guys' correct rates are in there by double checking things. So we know and we knew that this is going to be an issue, that there might be rates that don't align with what our service providers, have put forth. This is a priority for us. During this period of time, our specialists are available to you to talk about these things. We want to make sure that we understand and are able to support whatever request that you're putting towards the department, because ultimately we play a big role in that approval process, to my understanding. DDS is going to put it out there, but yeah, we will be playing a big role in that. And so we really want to be able to understand exactly why you feel like it was done incorrectly. And ultimately, if there are errors in the methodology that they used, we don't really have the ability to change methodologies that they like proposed. However, we can, we'll certainly help you articulate that message when it comes to, putting your appeal back into DDS. Any other questions that folks have? I know people put a lot of stuff in the chat, but are there any questions? You guys are welcome to unmute yourselves as well related to this. All right. Well, one thing we do know is that these rate increases were 25% increases to move people towards what the benchmark rate is. So I guess first and foremost, one thing I can share is since it sounds like, oh, thank you very much. We've got in the chat rate questions at alterregional.org. Rate questions at alterregional.org. And if you want to CC your community services specialist, when you send that in to give your specialist, a heads up about what's going on, I guarantee you they will appreciate it, because it's a lot of vendors this is going to be going on with, and it's going to be a little bit tough to track. And so the best heads up and communication that you can provide, I think, again, we want to work hard for you guys to ensure that we get this done correctly. The timelines were not our choice, but they're kind of what we're dealing with. And again, we want to do the very best to support everyone. So with that being said, we shared 2-3 weeks ago in this group that the Association of Regional Center Agencies, Lanterman Coalition, lots of movement and discussion about the rate study and the rate study kind of a fast forwarding of the implementation of the rate study. So I know that the Democrats submitted their spending plan for the budget, and in there is a discussion about increasing the rate study implementation. The big push has been to try to get 50% of the rate study implementation in by June. So that would be, whatever, increase that you saw at this time, it would be double that increase for the next one. So that it seems like it's going to be getting a lot of traction. There was certainly testimony about that. There was also testimony for budget hearings talking about the some of the changes that are going to be going on at DDS, as there constantly is. One of the biggest things that is being discussed is the change to the fair hearing process. There's currently both a bill that's in kind of en route, and also a budget change proposal by DDS to kind of, I think, make it so that the bill's not necessary to get passed. That would, in essence, do some large changes to the Department of Developmental Services. It would do things like separate the risk management and quality assurance parts of DDS into separate areas, and it would provide a lot more upfront support to folks that are filing for fair hearings, and lots of discussion about fair hearings and the utilization of like a mediator on the very front end of things to make things a little bit more user friendly for folks that are working on trying to get things authorized by the regional center. So there will be certainly a lot more about that. I will say this year, my understanding is we're looking at, I believe, the 10th, possibly, for the release of the May revision to the governor's budget. That means that this will not happen in the middle of the provider advisory committee, which is what, because sometimes they release it about 10 o'clock in the morning. And I think it was 7 years ago, it happened right in the middle of the provider advisory committee. And we had a service provider raise their hand and said, "Okay, John, so what's your plan for closing down Sonoma Developmental Center now?" Because they had announced the closure of Sonoma Developmental Center within the May revised budget. And so it does not look like we're going to have that kind of excitement, because our provider advisory committee meeting is next Thursday. But I do have an expectation that when the provider advisory committee meeting is held, there's going to be a lot of discussion about these hearings that have been going on, and then specifically the information that is contained in the May revision. We will also be back here next Friday as well, going over the information that is contained in the May revision as well, helping to explain it the best way we can. And we'll always see, of course, what ends up in the final budget, for the governor. Last year, it didn't exactly align the same because of some American Rescue Plan funds and how that kind of, it shifted things. And there was a decision made at the very end to end up funding the rate study fully. And so some of the other things that were proposed in the May revised didn't end up happening. So we'll see what happens this year. But with that being said, just know that, budget season heats up as we get towards the summer, and May revision will be out, and we'll be talking about all the new changes. We haven't quite figured out how to implement all the changes from last year yet, all of the different budget areas, but we will look forward to the new proposed changes that are going to be coming in. Any questions about anything budget related at all? Again, I think, ultimately it's going to be pretty black and white once it comes out in the May revision next week. All right. I wanted to mention that the employment work group that DDS has been holding has continued to be working. My understanding is that the RFPs, I believe, will be out towards the end of the month of May. I know we've got a couple of service providers that are participating in that employment work group. We've certainly got some community services directors that are in there as well. And so, again, they have a grant that they're going to be giving out, the employment grants. And my understanding is they're starting to get it kind of formulated what exactly that's going to look like. And we may see the RFPs out for those at the end of the month. So if you're thinking about doing new and creative things in the world of employment, hopefully we'll have something here soon from DDS as far as an additional grant opportunity that's going to be coming up. Additionally, Alta, we held our kind of like our bidders conference, or our request for proposal orientation for our CPP and CRDP projects. If that is something that you are interested in applying for, our RFPs, the proposals are due on May 12th by 3 p.m. And so You're welcome to reach out to rfp@altaregional.org if you have questions, but our RFPs are all located on our website. And again, if you need additional information, you can reach out to rfp@altaregional.org. And some of Jordan's staff that do the specialized resource development that are running this RFP will be able to get back to you. And so we had RFPs for a crisis service. We have an RFP for a housing developer organization to develop the new group homes for children with special healthcare needs, which is a brand new type of service. I think I already said mobile crisis as well, and to operate a community crisis home, another one of those too. So again, we've got some good projects. We're looking forward to a lot of proposals. It was nice. We did our RFP orientation both in person and we did it hybrid as well. And so it was kind of nice. Lots of providers we haven't seen for years in our offices and in our big conference room. So it was very nice to see everyone. We'll be doing interviews the last 2 weeks of May for those RFPs, and then we'll be choosing the service providers and the housing developer organization right at the beginning of June, and then we'll be working furiously to get into contract before the end of June. Unfortunately, though this is our 2021-2022 budget, DDS only releases it to us this year, at least, like with 3 months towards the end of the fiscal year, or 2 months. So it really makes it a challenge for us to get all these things done in that time frame. But like I said, we're looking forward to opportunities to do these new types of services, especially that group home for children with special healthcare needs. Historically, we send children all over California that have like very serious medical support needs, and it'll be really nice for us to be able to have them in a more home-like setting locally here. Any questions about the RFPs? All right. I will also share that on May 2nd of 2022, the dental clinic run by Halo opened up. After, I kid you not, 6 years, almost 7, of waiting for this dental clinic to open up, there was a soft opening on Monday. And the whole clinic is not open, just right now, just the dental part, because it is a federally qualified health clinic. It's on El Camino in Sacramento. It's actually not very far from our office. I can see the building outside my window in my office. And so it is kind of neat that we have something so close. We are working with them right now to align our referral processes with each other. We want to ensure that we can have a document that gets from our staff over to the dental clinic that really helps folks understand what the individualized needs of our clients are when they're being served at that dental clinic. Additionally, the dental clinic is equipped with what's called a VersaTilt, and with that VersaTilt, if you are in a wheelchair, you don't have to transfer. You can just ride your wheelchair right onto the VersaTilt, and the VersaTilt will tilt your wheelchair back so that you can get a dental procedure without having to get a transfer into an actual dental chair. So again, a lot safer for folks, and we are really looking forward to kind of getting our referral processes down and looking forward to that ongoing collaboration. The contract that we signed with them was for them to provide, in essence, 10 years of kind of specialized dental services to our clients. And so we're excited to see how this kind of comes together. But we needed the site to kind of be solid first before a lot of these activities started. And so we're glad to know that the site's done. It looks beautiful. And maybe we'll get some pictures up on our website of what it looks like here too. We have a question in the chat here. Are vendors who have not quite completed the vendor process eligible to apply for the grant? I'm assuming maybe for the request for proposals that we're doing for the CPP, CRGP stuff. We certainly have had service providers that have been in the process of doing a kind of traditional vendorization decide that they want to try to apply for a more specialized type of home that they might want to do, or service that they might want to do. Sometimes we're RFPing for day programs. So what I would do is first and foremost, if you are a person that has not completed the vendor process, that means you're working with a community services specialist currently. So the first thing I would do is reach out to your community services specialist and let them know what you're thinking about doing, and ask them to connect you to the community services specialists that are working on the RFP. That would be Dee Dee Peters and Dan Kilmer and Heather Hollingworth. And so those three probably are not working on your regular vendorization that you're doing right now, because they only really work on the specialized ones. But please make sure you let your current specialist know what's going on. That's one thing when I was a specialist 11 years ago, I used to really not like, I always wanted to be in the know with my vendors because I wanted to be able to support them and make sure that they're having as easy of a process as possible. And so again, just stay in contact with your assigned community services specialist. Alrighty, residential vendor forum. Olivia.
Sure. So we have a residential vendor forum on May 26th. Let me check the time. I just forgot. I think it's from 9 to 11. Let me confirm. Yes, 9 to 11. So if you have not received the invite, please let your community service specialist know, or you can email Christine Hobbs and I will drop her email in the box and she can forward you over the invite. So we are still doing it virtually.
Right now, again, we have a full complement of community services specialists. Like, our units are full. We've got some new staff that are even going to be coming on and filling the vacancies in Jordan's unit as well. And so, it's very important that you are able to reach out to your community services specialist. And if you don't know who your community services specialist is, please make sure that you reach out to Christine Hobbs, and it's right there in the chat, and she can make sure to let you know who is assigned to you. Okay. Additionally, if you're having trouble reaching out to your specialist right now, especially when we're talking about having time frame deadlines attached to appealing your rates and stuff like that, please reach out to your managers, or please come to this meeting and say, I haven't gotten a call back. I've had people do that actually in the chat here, kind of prompt me that I haven't got back to them. So please just take that opportunity. We want to make ourselves available to you right now as we try to figure all of this out with the new rates. There is, I'm going to go over to DDS's website real quick, and I want to go over just to some upcoming things that are going on, because I think it's important, not for just, I think it's important for our Alta staff as well, for them to be aware of all the things that are changing, and not everyone is signed up to receive the updates from DDS's website. So is everyone seeing DDS's website? Associate Client Services Director Tracy Brown, are you seeing my DDS's website? Perfect. All right, we got,
yes, I am.
We had Tracy and Jennifer on here as well. I saw both that joined as two of our Associate Client Services Directors. So first and foremost, one of the things that I don't know that we're like super nervous about it, but it's just going to be a significant change, is going to be the change to the appeals process, to the fair hearing process. So there is going to be a briefing that is going to be held on May 12th from 11 to 12, which I am told is right in the middle of our provider advisory committee, right? I believe. So it's next Thursday, and they are going to ask folks to register in advance. And this is a briefing on the changes that are planning to be made to the appeals process. And so I think this is a great opportunity, even for us as staff, but certainly for you as service providers, to understand some of the changes that are being proposed related to the appeals process. All right. And I'm going to go into the calendar here because I want to touch on some other upcoming things that are happening. Electronic visit verification. I have not heard almost any questions at all about electronic visit verification stuff since we started doing the big webinars and things like that. What was that, back in January, December, January, because the big launch for January. So the question I have for folks is it just like that easy that folks were able to figure it out and people are not having issues with it? Or are we running into any issues or challenges? Many of you service providers are required to do the EVV reporting. And Carol, I wonder, has there been any things that we've heard on a case management end, or any issues related to the electronic visit verification? Because I also have not heard anything on the case management end either about, families or anyone complaining about it.
I haven't had any feedback from providers or from families or clients, so I'm hoping that means that it's going well.
I know. I constantly get the EVV office hours, and they are wanting to provide so much technical assistance to people, but I haven't really heard any complaints from you guys, like honestly, since January when people like were kind of first figuring it out. So I just want to make sure you guys know that you can still please reach out to the regional center. It's our responsibility to assist you as well when it comes to the EVV stuff. But if it is all true that they made the system across all these different, agencies that are required to do it so user friendly, and also those different options to opt out of, the contractor that they had. So I'm happy to hear it, and just know that if there is any issues that are going on, we certainly want to provide the support to you. If we need to bring DDS back here again to talk about the EVV stuff, we can certainly do that as well. But again, we want to make sure you guys know you have those supports. We have the regional center measures work group that is coming up. I will say, looking at the regional center measures, this is a great opportunity for you to listen in and hear what's going on and how they're looking at quality indicators for the regional centers. For us, we're anxiously awaiting to see what it's going to look like and what are those different measures that are going to be coming out of the group specifically, and then how we are going to be implementing all of those measures as well. Again, there's more opportunities for EVV office hours. And then additionally, there's the quality incentive program work group, which is looking at you as service providers and looking at how you might get those quality incentives that are written about in last year's budget. And so I don't right now, but again, if this is something that, could impact you as a service provider, impact your rates. And so just encourage you, as always, to get on DDS's website and look at what upcoming meetings are going on. Let's see. We have our Let's Work series, and these are the employment workshops. Let's see, Carly, are you going to be participating in these? Are you going to be at the upcoming workshops?
Yeah, I'll be participating in them and presenting.
Excellent. And so what we would like to do is ensure, obviously, that you all are signed up on our website to get updates. But you can see the flyer that's right here. I'm using the right flyer. Is this right, Carly? Yes?
Yes, that's right.
All right, very good. May 19th, 4 to 5:15, offered in English, simultaneous in Spanish ASL, and closed captioning. So again, this is part of that collaboration that we've talked about previously, and this is our fourth different activity related to this. So really want to encourage folks to make sure that you sign up for that if you have an interest. And I am going to put in the chat right now the link so that you can get this flyer and sign up. So that way you guys have that information. Let's see, what is the other one? Close out of that one, and close out on that. Additionally, another thing that we are currently promoting right now is this upcoming training. This is the Culturally and Linguistically Competent Self-Determination Program. Let's see, they had a grant to identify barriers to participation in self-determination in communities of color, and they would like to share the findings of it. And so they're going to be having that on May 16th from 2 to 4 p.m. That was also sent out by our regional center. And I'm going to put that one in the chat right now as well. Additionally, I will share, I understand that there was a number of service providers that participated in our social recreation webinar that was done by ARCA. My understanding is that they are going to be releasing that webinar with an accompanying frequently asked questions for the very large number of questions that came out as well too. So we'll make sure that we send that out widely to folks so that you have a copy of that and you can see the webinar. Because of that webinar, we have had folks that have begun reaching out to us to do more social recreation vendorizations. Certainly want to think of you day program providers. If you want to look at doing something interesting, creative, and are looking at doing something different, maybe think of doing a social recreation vendorization as well. Talk to your community services specialist, submit a letter of interest. That's really the best way. When I get contacted by people, I know that people would like to have a lot of meetings to kind of ideate things and talk about them. But when we're saying please submit a letter of interest, it's not because we don't want to have like pre-vendorization discussions with you and things like that. It's that we need to keep track of it, and we need to be able to ensure that we have the follow-up with our staff once it's been assigned to them and things like that. So again, when you propose these innovative things, we love it and we want you to do more of it. And we will be directing you to do a letter of interest so that we can really get the ball rolling on getting a vendorization started. All right. Additionally, and we'll be talking about this at the upcoming Provider Advisory Committee on Thursday, but I guess this is also kind of a continued good spot to talk about it, is that there has been a collaborative effort between the executive directors of Valley Mountain Regional Center and Alta California Regional Center. So Tony Anderson at Valley Mountain and Lori Benalis at Alta have decided that we're going to do a collaborative to try to help support our service providers in their hiring efforts. And so we've gathered some folks from our Provider Advisory Committee, myself as the Community Services Director, and then staff from VMRC and Alta have been meeting to talk about ways in which we as the regional centers can help support you all as service providers in your hiring challenge needs and looking at ourselves as well. The reason why we're looking primarily with Valley Mountain is because we have a shared media market. And so our thought is that if we do look at different types of media, that we could look at kind of teaming together in situations like that. So with that being said, I know that we're going to be talking about it more, and they're going to be looking for some ideas at that Provider Advisory Committee. But since I am helping kind of represent Alta, and as is Eric Champa and Michelle Ramirez, who are our folks from our Provider Advisory Committee that are typically in this meeting as well. If you do have ideas related to this and you wanted to shoot over an idea to me, I would be very interested in hearing about them, especially in advance of the next week when we are going to be having that discussion. So, if there's something that you think that we could collaborate with service providers on related to assisting you, a lot of it we've been talking about is just trying to promote the field of working in developmental disabilities as much as possible. So please don't hesitate to email me, and again, I'll put my email over there on the side. If you do have some ideas about, some type of way that we can, and money would be involved in this as well. So if there's something that the regional center could possibly pay for, etc., just, kind of shoot me over an email. No idea is bad, but we're really trying to get a lot of input about this one. So thank you very much for that. And we'll come back to you and talk with you more about the status of that in our upcoming meetings as well. All right. I will say that is actually my last agenda item that I had for today. What I did want to talk about just real quickly is we have noticed an increase of people applying for jobs. And I was at a meeting with a service provider and kind of similar things. People are starting to have more applications that are coming in. Is this something that folks are running into, or are people still having the same issues and challenges that they had, the first quarter of the year? And I was just wondering if we could get a little feedback about that, because we're not going to put out another formal survey, but are folks still having challenges, or are folks noticing some changes happening? So I see from InAlliance that they're having the same issues, from the Corys as well. Sporadic, it looks like. Sporadic applicants coming in. All right. The DDSO still having the same issues? Okay. They apply, but either can't complete the follow-up process or do not follow up. One thing we've learned about is people just not even calling us back, and we're getting ghosted on new hires. Like, we're literally offering positions to people and having them pass background checks, and then they just don't call us and don't return. We don't even know if they're okay or not. But apparently this is a more and more common thing that is going on with people. Let's see what we have in the chat here real quick. We hired 7 in April, 1 in May so far. That's good. More resumes, same issues with people not responding to calls or ghosting interviews. Well, ghosting interviews too. We definitely had that before, but I never had a person ghost a new hire where we went through the whole background check stuff and then they just stopped answering our phone calls. Still challenged to find the right people. We had to put a message out today. Transportation providers, I hear how hard things are for you. I did not understand the full depth of the challenges that are tied to day programs only being open like 1 or 2 days a week, and the challenges of trying to build the transportation routes around sporadic day program participation. And so certainly recognize the issues that are going on there. And and then I see didn't even show up for the first day of work. That was kind of what ended up happening with us, with our person. All right. Well, again, I wanted to have an opportunity. It sounds like many folks are still facing a lot of these challenges. I think for us as, community services departments, especially as we're starting to do increased quality assurance and things like that, having that mindfulness that people are still really struggling out there to have their staff and making sure that they've got, all the people there that are needed. About alternative services. What did we just continue alternative services authorizations through for rollover? December? I believe.
December.
So do we know for sure 100% that alternative services are going to last through December? Absolutely not. But for those of you service providers who dealt with the challenges of switching over from retainer billing to alternative services billing, we found that rather than having our service coordinators like moving a bunch of ones around, we would like to be more how should I say, a little bit safer with it. And so we just extended the authorizations out through December with the assumption that alternative services are going to remain in place. Just because we continue authorizations through December does not mean that you as a service provider are required to continue to do alternative services. If you as a service provider feel like you want to move back to providing the full in-person services that you did prior to the pandemic, prior to alternative services billing, please make sure that you contact your community services specialist, give them a heads up about that, and then there will need to be changes that are made to authorizations, for your clients in situations like that. But that's where we're at right now. We shall see what if there's anything in the budget or in the trailer bill that talks about the alternative services, but we know that there were no rate increases for any alternative services rates. So if that, if anything, we should still consider these alternative rates to be short time, time limited. But at this point, don't worry about, having to ask for extended authorizations, because we're going to at least extend those alternative authorizations through December of 2022. All right. Well, with that being said, is there anything else that we might have from our community services staff or from our case management staff? Anything else we might want to announce or anything? We got a new manager that got hired. We don't have Johnny here, so he can't announce that he hired a new manager. So we have Phil Perez, who is an alumni of our community services department on a couple occasions, 3 occasions, I think. Will be joining our regional center or he has already joined. We already hired him as our 3rd residential manager out of the Sacramento officers. So joining Christina Lane and Rowena is our 3rd manager, Phil Perez. So we're very happy to have his experience back here at the regional center, and we know that those service coordinators are going to be very happy to have their new manager as well. Let's see. We also had an announcement of a retirement of one of our managers as well. And I feel like if we're announcing a retirement, Tracy, you want to share that one?
Not really, but I will. Very sad to say and happy for her that Vicki Smith, after over 35 years of dedication and commitment to our clients and families and staff, has decided to retire as of June 3rd, and she will be starting that next chapter of her life. So I'm extremely happy for her. Sad for the regional center, but she's left her footprint on our agency and all of our clients. So it's nice.
It is tough. Vicki is like a cornerstone of our agency. She really has been. For me, when I was a young manager, I used to love her little chats that she would have with me outside my office, like almost every day. We should pop in and say a little something that always made me think about things. And so I was talking to a group of students last night at Sac State that are in like a social work and disability class, and I told them it's crazy to me to still think of that. The average time period that people stay at Alta is over 9 years. When you look at the turnover that you typically see in social services and that I experienced you know, when I was in my 20s and things like that. And to be able to look at just the time frame that folks stay, it's pretty cool. And certainly that means a lot of continuity of supports for our clients too. So anyways, that being said, we're always happy to have, you know, our long-term staff transition to their new experiences. All right, folks. Well, we hope that you have a great Mother's Day weekend to all of our mothers out there as well. And we will look forward to talking to everyone next week, where we're going to give more of an update about the May revision to the budget. So have a great weekend. Enjoy time with your families, and we will talk to you next week. Take care.